Hello, this is your instructor again, and we're now on to week two of our class on public speaking in the digital age. So last week, for week one, you prepared by thinking of an important person in your life, whether that's a real person, whether that, or not a real person, but they're all real people, but whether that's a person who's alive now, maybe somebody related to you, or maybe it is a person that you've never really met, but you really, really admire, like a celebrity or a sports figure or someone like that. And so now this week in week two, we're ready to take your ideas and put that, into some kind of a shape of a speech. I kind of like to think of this as you have the skeleton part of your project ready to go. Now you're ready to put some skin on it, make it look like actual speech itself. And so you need to understand some basic things about speeches, and that is that they're all should be organized with an introduction, with the main points in a body, and with a conclusion. And I go into much, much detail in my announcement for week two about these three different parts. So really recommend you take a look at that, read that over so you're familiar with what an introduction does, the body of the speech, and the conclusion. You're also going to see in video two, or in video one, I mean, for class this week, that they're going to go through the basic parts of the speech. And so you can also get information there about what an introduction is and does, and what the body of the speech is and does, and what the conclusion is and what it does for your speech. So take a look at that. So the first thing I want to recommend for you is you're going to need to download a document for this planning, because you need to think about things this week, and your planning document will need to be submitted in the group discussion board for week two no later than midnight of Thursday of this week. So you've got some work to do between now and midnight of Thursday when you're going to submit this document. So I recommend that you print it out. And what I've done is I provided for you a little help. So I want to share my screen at this time, and I'm going to go to, looking at a document that I've prepared for you. And so I'm just going to simply go to the announcements of our class. You should now see on your screen where I pulled up the announcement section, course announcements for, and that's what this is right up here. It says course announcements for week two. And I have written my own introduction speech planning document template here with questions following in bold print that really help you, I think, to come up with a good planning document. Now, you can use my planning document simply by selecting this attachment right at the top here, Introduction Speech Planning Document. You do that by going over here to these three buttons and selecting Download, and then it will download this for you, and this will actually show up in the upper corner. See how this shows up, Introduction Speech Planning Document. And then you open that up. Now I'm having it open up, so you should be able to see my Word document here in just a second that has all of the things that you need to do. So it says you do not have permission for editing right now, but you can enable the editing. I recommend you do that. That way you can now type in your own. You can delete these bold print instructions, just type in your own information here, and you can actually use this template as your actual document that you're going to be submitting. So let's kind of walk through this document and what the different things say. In the introduction, which you need to label the first part of your speech, introduction, you do need to have an attention getter. Now, on this template, I have not described or defined what an attention getter is. I've simply written down things for you to think about. How will you start the speech? What's the first thing you're going to say? You don't say, hello, my name is. You don't say the name of the topic, which in this case is the person that you're going to be introducing. You don't do that yet. You start with something else. So read over the attention getter and decide what you're going to do. Maybe you're going to start with a story or a quote or rhetorical questions or something like that, just to get the attention of the audience. The next thing you're going to do then is introduce the name of the person. So here where you simply say, the person I'm talking about today is, and then that's when you tell us their name. Maybe even tell us their, um, connection to you, if any. Then you have your central idea, which is basically telling us the most important thing about this person. Now, you're going to do two things, I think, in this speech. So you simply tell us what those two things are. In this case, it's, what is significant about this person? And secondly, how they've influenced you. Try to keep this central idea to one sentence if you can, two sentences at the very most, but simply tell us, what something about this person in general. Then you're going to preview your main ideas, and you're going to tell us in this preview what are the one or two or three things about this person that describe the kind of person they are, how they have significantly influenced you. Now, you might combine the preview with the central idea and make that one sentence as well. But this is basically the introduction to your speech that will be 4 to 6 minutes in length. So this introduction should be approximately 45 seconds long, not longer than that. So make sure it's somewhere between, say, 35, 45 seconds to do all of these things that are listed here. Then at the end of the introduction, kind of in between the introduction and the body, you're going to have a transition, which they call a signpost in this course. And so you need something to move you from this introduction into your first main idea. And then you talk about the main idea. You provide important background information about this person. I've listed some questions you might want to do some research on, or maybe if you have an opportunity to actually talk to this person, actually ask them these questions and then include that in the first part, your main idea number one. So then you tell us and here in this example, they have reason A, reason B, and that's two things that you might want to provide, two bits of information. So if you have three bits of information, you'd have reason C, and then an explanation or interpretation of that, reason C, so on. When you're done with their main idea number one, you need to have another signpost, a transition from getting to that main idea one into main idea number two. And then you talk about a separate thing than you did from main idea one. So perhaps in main idea two, you could talk about what made this person significant and inspiring to you. And again, you want to think of maybe two or three things that have happened, that have shaped you, that you attribute to this person. It's because of this person that I think that everything has, that I'm the way that I am today. Here's a possible third main idea, to share the reasons that this person is meaningful to you, or how you will remember this person. And then again, think of two or three things for that. Now, you don't have to have three main ideas. You can only have two main ideas if that will, complete the middle section here. You need about 3 minutes and 15 seconds to complete this middle section. So if you have two main points, they need to each be approximately, a minute and 40 seconds, or minute and 45 seconds at the most. And so if you have three main ideas, then about a minute and 5 seconds each. So it just kind of depends on how many main points you want, on how long it would be. I don't recommend having four main ideas, either two or three will be sufficient. Then at the end, you need to say, to move something to the conclusion, something like in conclusion, or to sum up, something like that. That'll move you from your last main idea into the conclusion. Then in your conclusion, you need to restate your main ideas, what you've already stated earlier. And then you also need to restate your central idea. Go back and look at what your central idea was, the most important thing or two about this person. Restate that again. And then end your speech with something that you want your audience to remember about this person. I call this a memorable ending. For this context, they call it ending the speech with a bang. So this is how you complete this document. So you need to do some thinking about this. You need to divide up your topic into different parts, and then you need to talk about that. So make sure that you, again, that I really recommend you download my template that's in the announcements. That'll kind of give you some questions to think about when you're preparing your template. Now, the template that is provided in week 2 is very, very similar to this. If you want to use that instead and not use my template, you're certainly welcome to do that as well. But you need to create this document and then save it on your computer so that later in the week, on Thursday, you can submit this into the group. Now, you can submit it by uploading this document as an attachment, or you can submit it by doing a cut and paste. So, for example, you could highlight all of your document and then simply copy it, like I'm doing here, and then copy that now and then paste that into the text box in the discussion board. You can do either one to submit this for people to read over. Sometimes doing the cut and paste is easier for people because they don't have to do an extra click to open up a Word document so they can read your document and then respond to it. So by Thursday, you need to submit your document, and then by Friday of, or by Sunday night at midnight, you need to submit then your feedback to at least 2 people about their document, what you thought about theirs, and so on to them, so that they can use that and can really shape what they're doing. So we'll take this planning document that you have and we'll look at it. We'll redo that, practice it in week 3, and then we're ready to actually upload it into the group discussion as our finished speech. Now, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about today that you're going to want to look at. You're going to want to look at 2 videos for class as sample videos and that give you some great information. Video 1 is firstly all about 2 different kinds of audiences, because you're giving this to an audience, in your case, that you know. At least you know them by name, you know a little bit about their background if you've read their introductory information about them. So you're speaking to what's called a defined audience. There's a limited number of people in this class that have access to your video. If you were actually putting this out on YouTube, or if you were putting this out on some other platform, you might be having what's called a dispersed audience. That means you don't know who the audience is. It's not a defined number. You don't know anything about these people that are possibly watching your audience, watching your speech. So you might be doing a little different presentation for a dispersed audience than you are for the defined audience. A defined audience can also be for a specific class. It can be for a specific number of subscribers that you have to your channel, so you know something about them as well. But this is a dispersed audience. And then the last part of the first video is really just an explanation about introductions, body with main points, and the conclusion. So listen to that, watch that. That's good information. The second video then is a sample speech of a speech to introduce an important person. In this case, it's a grandmother of the speaker. And they'll go through and show you not only a sample speech, but exactly how to fill out the planning document. Now, one thing I want to say as a caveat to the second speech is that your planning document is not the whole speech written out. It's not the word by word, complete sentence format of your speech. Now, there's going to be some complete sentences on it, but mainly it's just kind of filling out the template. And so you don't have to use complete sentences for this template for us to get the idea, as long as we understand what you're talking about. But in the sample video, they write it all out word for word, and it's the entire speech. That's only to give you an example to know what they're talking about. So don't think that you have to do the same kind of thing. This is supposed to be more of an outline than it really is the entire speech itself. We want to know your ideas about how you're going to what you're planning to say first and second, and so on. So read over the material. email me if you need to have a Zoom conference. You get 10 extra points for that. So I can sit down and help you with your document to know exactly what to do. If you just have writer's block and you're stuck with what to do, then let me know about that and I can try to help you. So until next time, good luck in preparing your document for this week and make sure to get it in on time. So we'll see you again soon. Bye.